Calaroga Shark Media.
Hi there, I'm Johnny Mac with another bonus episode of Daily Comedy News. Quick housekeeping, going back to Friday, because I've dropped a lot of content. Friday morning, recapped Shane Gillis and the ESPYs. I really liked that episode, but it's gotten buried in the Colbert of it all. There was a bonus episode about Colbert, initial reactions, and some analysis Friday afternoon, in case you missed that. Saturday, there was a normal episode in the feed and a bonus episode about Colbert. And today on Sunday, there was a normal episode that went out earlier today, this bonus episode that you're listening to now. And then there'll be a normal episode on Monday morning. And from there, we'll see where the news is. In The Guardian, Jesse Hasinger writes, CBS has ripped off a bandage that the big three networks have been applying to similar wounds for years. Late-night programming simply doesn't mean as much as it used to, with smaller network lead-ins from primetime lineups and more audience choices for comedy, talk, music, or even the dopey celebrity games that Jimmy Fallon throws together. Saturday Night Live has retained some cultural cachet thanks to a combination of lower commitment, 20 episodes a year on a night where many people don't have to work the next day versus 8 times as many, all airing on weeknights, legacy branding, and sketch comedy that travels well online. These days, it's routinely one of the highest-rated network shows of the week when it airs a new episode, offering an encouraging sign that old time slot rules about viewership no longer apply. It's also extremely expensive to produce and difficult to replicate, which nonetheless looks more viable than the tired talk show format. I will jump in there. All this conversation has people wondering about Saturday Night Live post Lorne Michaels. We're clearly getting a season 51, but that show is reportedly expensive to produce. And, maybe you don't do 20 episodes, maybe do fewer episodes, maybe the cast is smaller. Who knows what the future for that show is? The Guardian writes, this could be a good thing for comic minds, including Colbert or Conan O'Brien. Some comedians seem unable to resist the siren call of late-night talk shows, chasing the Tonight Show dream even when the actual job remained out of reach. That Colbert can face cancellation anyway should, alongside Conan O'Brien losing his Tonight Show gig years ago, signal to newcomers that the rarefied air of the national late-night talk show host is also getting pretty thin, maybe unbreathable. Yet Trump has sucked up some of that oxygen too. Even with the challenges cited by CBS, it's difficult to believe that vanquishing a longtime issuer of Trump mockery wasn't at least considered a side benefit of canceling The Late Show. Skipping ahead, beyond Trump personally smudging up the balance sheets, he's helping to hasten the demise of late-night comedy simply by being himself, seeming to provide the perfect target, a venal, dim-witted perma-celebrity with an army of devoted sycophants. But after 2 non-consecutive administrations have flooded the zone with grotesqueries, performing a lightly zinging monologue or sketches as a warm-up act for good-natured interviews seems unlikely to entice either those craving anti-Trump catharsis or those desperate to believe in his strongman powers. Colbert took a somewhat less cutesy approach than his competitor Fallon, seemed to be all that was necessary to mark him as a troublemaker. In The Atlantic, David Graham writes, for much of the 20th century, American broadcast television revolved around 3 networks, NBC, ABC, and CBS. The network was home to Edward R. Murrow, who brought World War II in Europe home to Americans on CBS radio. After the war, Murrow's reporting played a pivotal role in bringing down Senator Joseph McCarthy. Walter Cronkite dominated American evenings from his perch at the Evening News. And from the days of Mike Wallace to the more recent era of Leslie Stahl and Scott Pelley, 60 Minutes set the standard for long-form television reporting. Yet, CBS's current ownership seems determined to demolish this legacy. The Atlantic then writes, perhaps this is true, but the network that once made Cronkite the most trusted man in America no longer gets the benefit of the doubt. CBS's owners have made a series of decisions capitulating to President Donald Trump, and the surprise choice to allow Colbert, a consistent, prominent Trump critic, to walk seems like part of that pattern. In 2023, Sherry Redstone began seeking a buyer for the company, eventually striking a deal in 2024 with Skydance. The merger requires federal approval. The president now seems favorably disposed towards the merger. Last month, he spoke highly of Skydance head David Ellison. Still, the deal has not yet been approved by the FCC. Journalism, along with Colbert's program, makes up only a small portion of Paramount's portfolio, and so business executives might view sacrificing them to preserve a deal as a prudent, if cold-blooded maneuver. Daniel Feinberg, I'm a big fan of Daniel. He writes for The Hollywood Reporter. He says, I'm sure The Late Show with Stephen Colbert is absolutely ending because of a financial decision against the challenging backdrop of late night, and it's not related in any way to the show's performance, content, or other matters happening at Paramount. The official reasons for the cancellation, or whatever they are, and who am I to question the co-CEO of Paramount Global, the president of CBS Entertainment, and the president of CBS Studios? Nobody, that's who. But official reasons and optics are 2 different things, and if the folks in charge at CBS didn't know what the optics were, They wouldn't have released a statement saying that what we think we can see with our eyes and infer with our common sense definitely aren't the truth. The optics here may not have any connection to facts, but man, the optics here suck, and they suck on a slew of levels that are all addressed in the statement as things that we're not supposed to be thinking about, but can't help but think about. So it's not related to anything happening at Paramount. Good to know. What could possibly be happening at Paramount? A merger between CBS parent company Paramount Global and Skydance, a massive deal that was seen as a major part of why CBS just settled a lawsuit? Skipping ahead, Colbert isn't going anywhere for 10 months, and it's hard to imagine him agreeing to stick around for a swan song in which his content is being restricted. So let's assume that he's going to spend a season lampooning Trump, even as a lame duck. Skipping ahead again, there are less political talk show hosts. Jimmy Fallon plays his various games and goofs around with celebrities. And you know what? There's room for that. I want nothing to do with it, but that's okay too. And when Seth Meyers isn't taking closer looks, sometimes he's just drinking with stars and making fun of his own errors. And you know what? There's room for that. And if Netflix would renew Everybody's Live with John Mulaney, I'd like to believe there's room for doing a talk show episode blindfolded or fighting a trio of 14-year-old boys on live television. At some point, CBS might just air whatever procedural reality shows in the 10 p.m. slot, kick it to local news, and then play the national anthem and go black, just like back in the good old days. The Hollywood Reporter dusted off the Good One podcast. Seth Meyers was on there about a month ago, and let's revisit what Seth said. He had said, "It's helpful for us to cross-pollinate the information we're hearing from the people in charge of our networks to make sure it's all checking out with everybody else, and also to commiserate, because everybody who's doing this to some degree obviously remembers a time when things were a little more flush." Seth was asked at that time, are we in the end era of late-night TV? Seth said, "There's always a chance that something turns around all of a sudden it's on the upswing again, but I would certainly bet on there being fewer late-night shows in the future." Nailed that one. Apparently, Colbert's staff didn't find out about this much before the rest of us. Some members of the team went on social media. Writer Felipe Torres Medina called Stephen Colbert absolutely the greatest and said, "We got 10 more months of this, so you better tune in because you know we're about to go effing loco." Producer-director Jake Plunkett said, "Was the run of a lifetime. So grateful for this job and the people I've met here. One thing I will say, Stephen Colbert is an insanely good man who treated us with a tremendous amount of love. Also, he's insanely funny. I'll run through a wall for him for the next 10 months. Let's stop there. Stephen Colbert, love him, good guy. Everybody loves Stephen Colbert. He's going to be fine. He's made a lot of money. He'll be able to work again if he wants to work again. If nothing else, he could do a podcast. But what about the 200 people that work on the show? What's going to happen to them?" Jake Plunkett said, "The fall of late night is so sad. I grew up loving Conan, SNL, Ferguson, Letterman." Writer Carly Mosley on Instagram said, "I love the show. I love these people. I love these people in the show forever and ever. Amen. See y'all till May." Writer Michael Cruz Kane said the Late Show gig was the best job I could imagine. Producer and segment director Ballard C. Boyd said some unfortunate news from the home office and pointed out the part of an AV Club headline that said CBS executives bent over backward to deny that this was related to the Trump of it all. Now, this is really interesting. Deadline dusted this off. In May of 2025, check your calendar, not that long ago, George Cheeks, co-CEO Paramount Global and president and chief executive of CBS, told Deadline that he really likes our hand. "The day part is challenging from an ad sales perspective. I love our hand. We have the number one person for the last 9 years, and we still do believe in the day part, but it is a challenge." A late-night producer told Deadline the news was depressing and weird, and I feel like there's more to this story. It is believed the Late Show cost slightly less than $75 million per year to produce, before adding in Colbert's salary. So let's assume, just to keep this easy, Stephen Colbert's salary is $1. It's probably not, but let's just keep it easy. So if the show costs $75 million to produce, yesterday I mentioned Late Show's ad take in 2024 was $70.2 million. So you're already losing $5 million before you pay Stephen Colbert. Again, my spidey sense is tingling about the conspiracy theory, but the financials, yeah. Now, is there goodwill to having the Late Show on? Is it a promotional vehicle? All that, absolutely true. There's brand imaging, there's, who are we as CBS? Well, we're the home of 60 Minutes and the Late Show. And, you start picking away at that. Then you're just the home of, oh yeah, I put that on sometimes to watch football. Some reports guess Colbert's salary is between 15 and 20 million. Let's use the 15 number. So again, 75 plus 15 is 90. You make 70 million in ads. Is it worth $20 million? Is there a way to make that up? Could we do fewer shows? Could we have less of a staff? Could we do fewer episodes? A place I used to work always loved to ask hosts to do additional things So you'd say host daily comedy news, but also have to do a shift on the jazz station. That kind of stuff went on at a place I once worked. So I don't know. I think it's terrible, but part of me is looking at this going, why don't we just air a Price is Right rerun? Times have changed. I don't know. Very mixed feelings. I am truly sad that this is ending, and it is absolutely stunning. I mean, I've done, 4 bonus episodes about this single topic now. All right, and that is your bonus episode. Like I said, I'm back in the morning with a normal episode, and then we'll take it from there. Appreciate you listening.